good to have you. It's exactly 8 minutes into the hour. It is 8:08 a.m. Okay, and it is the 28th of April. Oh, that's fascinating. I like it. Thank you very much for joining us. It is Thursday, and I am so glad to be your host today. I have amazing people on set today to just talk about issues that most of you would rather not talk about. Some of you say we wouldn't talk about that because there's no time. You know, you'd rather discuss politics or economics, but you do not remember that we have the emotional part of you that's pretty much integral, you know, in your being. And they say human beings stand apart because we have a soul. That's why sometimes you talk about soul searching, yeah? When was the last time you searched your soul and asked yourself, hey, Anki, are you really fine? How are you doing? You know, I talk to myself, I just did right now, and Kate Kyoko is a counseling psychologist. She's looking beautiful as always. I'm about to ask her, is it that you take care of your inner being so much that your skin continues to glow? How are you? It's good to have you and good to see you.
Thank you so much.
But really,
and welcome viewers.
Today you look better.
Thank you.
And I will give you a chance to say good morning and welcome them all.
Yes.
And I also have Ben Rogers Murithi, who is a recovery and life coach. How are you, sir?
Very fine. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah.
It's good to have you. It's cold and I can see you're all warm. Yes. So I hope the viewer is ready for the topic of discussion, which is inner healing. And we're talking about attending to emotional wounds. Somebody's now asking me, okay, so what are emotional wounds? Don't miss the discussion. Be part of this conversation live on Facebook. Use the hashtag #TheMorningDrift. Ask any questions whatsoever. It is an open conversation, and I know a lot of people usually want to see a psychologist. But the question is, where is the time? Is it a priority? So if that has been a battleground for you, here's the time and here's the priority. I've brought to you the psychologist and the life coach right on set. So feel free to talk to us. If you want to be anonymous, no problem. We'll still give you the solutions and answers right here. So the platforms are open. Twitter at LookUpTV, hashtag #TheMorningDrift. We have social media handles of our guests also at the bottom of the screen. And use the number on WhatsApp. Ask your questions, and, you know, give in your feedback as well, and I will share with the rest of the viewers. This is one of those conversations that are very intentional for you, for me, and for my guests. Now I'm back to you guys. I'm going to ask Kate to, of course, say good morning now and welcome the viewers, or even, you know, say, you know, give a shout out. It's easy.
Thank you, Anki. And thank you for having me again.
Terrible.
Kate Kyoko, I'm a counseling psychologist. And currently I'm also doing a program in marriage and family therapy. Yes, and I practice privately. Mm-hmm. I'm a mother, married. Yes, and a daughter. Mm-hmm. I'm glad to be here, and I'm excited to have this discussion. It is something, as you say, that people shy away discussing it, yet it impacts our lives so much, our character, our attitude, our assumption. And unless we visit our area of woundedness or brokenness, we may get stuck to life. We have to visit there, however painful it is, and then we start their journey of healing.
Amazing.
Thank you.
I know you should say you need to visit, you know?
Yes.
And
it's painful.
And it's painful.
But that's the only justice you can do to yourself.
So we're also hoping to also learn how to get the courage to go back. Yeah, a few tips coming to you shortly.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for coming early.
Asante.
In the cold. Ben Rogers all the way. I know I'm not going to tell everyone else, but you traveled purposefully to just create an impact. It's good to have you. Please say good morning and, you know, tell us what you do and what we expect.
Good morning, our viewers. My name's Ben Rogers Murithi. I'm the director of a program called The Dawn Recovery and Empowerment Center in Meru. It's a support program that's mostly working with the drug addicts and people struggling with emotional wounds. Also, I am a counseling psychologist. I'm pursuing my master's with Kate, unfortunately. And I'm really humbled to be here, and thank you for the invite. I'm really humbled to be in this place this morning. Thank you.
I want to emulate your modesty, you all, and your humility.
Thank you.
If I could be that humble, I'd be way far. I'm just saying it's really good. They said it many times, I'm humble to be here. I'm humble to be here. And speaking of emotional wounds and the inner healing, let's start with what are emotional wounds so that we are at par with everyone else watching back at home. Kate.
Okay, emotional wounds, we can say they are unseen wounds, and a set of experiences that bring pain on the psychological level. And as I said, they're unseen, and it is the most difficult place to, or rather, wounds to heal, because people hide and they put a mask. Or they exhibit in a physical symptoms. Okay, so any client who walks in for therapy who comes with symptoms, and it's until you explore and get to the bottom line of the hidden issues, you may not know. You don't just pick the superficial symptoms. You have to get deeper. And that is done through history. You get a detailed demographic data from the client and other history. And for a psychologist or a marriage and family therapist or any person who has a background of psychology, you cannot ignore some of this history, like childhood experiences, experiences, and that will entail exploring whether there were traumas, as you said, the relationship with significant other, very, very important, because that is the most traumatic, or rather the most painful place when you have no good relationship with a significant other. That one, I mean the parent or the caregiver who took care of you. It might have been an orphan and you were left in the hands of a guardian. So how they treated you is very important. Abuse, neglect of children, being abandoned, those cause emotional traumas, emotional wounds. And the other word would be, as you grow, maybe rejection of a spouse, maybe a breakup, boyfriend. It hurts. It hurts because you're dealing with things of inside. So those some of the issues, or negative critic. Admission that sometimes they come with symptoms. So we try to suppress those wounds and now exhibit physically with different symptoms, and you'll be surprised some of these things. Some may be drugs, like he said, he's running this project. Some will be, we call it escapism, you just suppress.
And we will touch on it.
Yes.
Okay.
And others will be, you'll be surprised. Being a perfectionist. You're being...
Really?
Yes. You're being driven to perform. Because there's something you want to prove right. Somebody mentioned to you something, you're worth nothing. And that, from time of childhood, kept ringing in your mind. You can either do performing to be a perfectionist, or have a self-rejection. Okay, you internalize what you were told, you'll amount to nothing, or they told me that I'm amount to a nothing. They'll know that I'll not amount to nothing.
So you live the rest of your life.
So you start being driven to perform better. Okay. So, and you'll be surprised, most of the most successful people, they're empty inside, yet they are good performers. But it's something that they are battling with from childhood that they are trying to do. And so this affects even our personality, our character. And
I'm going to come to,
Yes.
she started us on a very high note, and I like that you went right into it so that people can relate. With number one, the escapism. You're just a perfectionist, and most people like to say, I'm a perfectionist. They're always workaholics. We never really know what is the underlying issue. We're not saying everyone who is probably dealing with an emotional wound, but what if, as we continue to talk, you can be able to, spot your, tick those checklists and find out that you really need help. Let's keep talking, but thank you very much for letting us understand what really are emotional wounds. And I want to hear from Ben Rogers. We're going to delve deeper, but she's mentioned something about escapism and the relationship between these emotional wounds and drugs. I want to hear your introductory remarks as well, because we probably have addicts watching this morning, and they hardly knew that this was an emotional wound they're running away from. What would you say with the relationship?
To add on what Kate said,
Yes.
one of the things that makes emotional wounds very tough is because they operate in relationships. Maybe this is a family I'm growing in, and how do I say my uncle raped me? How do I say my grandmother rejected me publicly? How do I approach her as a counselor and speak all about these things that are happening to me? So I end up, or someone ends up internalizing them. Because like my case when I was growing up, I came to realize that this place I'm growing in is not the home that I thought to be. I've grown with these people, and I'm thinking they are my parents, we go to church together.
That's your personal experience?
Yes, that's my personal experience. And one day I come home and I overhear them talking about me. And that is how they are stating that I don't belong to them. I was left there by my mother. And that broke me as a child. I'm developing, and I've started to trust these people. I'm settling down, and all of a sudden I realize this is not my place, so I don't belong here. And then you start seeing all these signs. Maybe you overread some of them, and deep inside you're dying. But then how do you tell it? How do you speak to these people? How to fear you don't want to speak about the things that are going through your mind and your heart and soul? So I'm here, I'm looking for my dad. Who then is my father? Who then is my mother? Why don't they tell me? And I remember one time, and I'm asking, I heard you say that you're not my mother. Then who is my mother? And then, of course, I fetched a beating. My grandmother was authoritarian. I fetched a beating. So deep inside, I developed this emptiness. And it's an emptiness that no one sees. Because everyone is seeing I'm eating, I'm dressing, I'm going to school. So things are supposed to be okay according to them. But according to me, that child that is growing, things are not okay. I don't feel at home anymore. I feel so lied to. I feel I've
cheated.
been cheated. And and I'm associating this even with the church, because these are church goers. They're the people teaching me not to lie, and I'm living a lie. So eventually when I get to high school, I'm looking for identity, because I felt I don't belong. I want to belong. And I want to show the world that I can do it. Sometimes the caregivers or even the parents, sometimes they say things, even without meaning, that break you. They don't know you're internalizing. You are this young kid growing up with a blank slate. They are feeling all this stuff. And sometimes they are saying you're useless, you are hopeless like your mother, you behave like your mother. And this is the mother that you have never seen. So I'm getting out there, and I want to show the world I am here. I'm here, the world, So the next thing I'm knowing is that I get into this peer group that accepts me, that is in high school, that love me, that are talking and they're listening.
Yes.
So for the first time, I'm feeling I'm not in front of a judge. I'm not being condemned. I'm not being looked down upon. So I want to rise in this peer group. I want to be the star in this peer group. So I'll do anything to fit in. I'll do anything to run away from whatever I'm feeling. Then one way or another, I got into drugs when I was in Form 2. And now, once in drugs, and you do the experimental stage, then you do the regular stage, and one day you wake up and you realize you're caught up in the drugs.
Addicted.
You're addicted. And now back home, everyone thinks that you are this wayward kid. You're
a rebel?
A rebel. You've been bewitched. So, they are looking at the effect but they don't want to address the underlying. And I think that's what Kate was talking about. You know, you may see the dark on water, but you don't know what is happening under, you know, the struggles that are going. I'm not doing this because I want to do it. I'm doing this because I'm broken and I want to cover this. You know, it's a form of defense mechanism. I've been hurt so much. I don't want anyone to hurt me anymore again. Yeah. So it was difficult.
And I'm glad that you're giving us your personal story. And everyone else who's watching back at home, please feel free to send in your feedback. And allow me to read one before you come into Kate, because we're picking from his story as well, where he said the underlying issues, you know, and actually checking on the dark is on water, but what goes beneath. And I'm seeing here Kenneth Mushiri saying, proud of you, Ben Rogers and Kate. Thank you very much for that feedback. And now let's talk about, you know, assessing, because he has gotten to the stage where he knew what was happening to him.
Yeah.
You know, most of us are in a stage where we can hardly tell, you know, but what are the signs that show you I really have a problem? This is what I'm battling. Maybe you can walk through that with us. I'm actually curious myself if I've been battling something, I don't know. What signs, because you cannot see the heart from outside, like you're seeing Anki smiling on air.
Yeah.
You cannot, but what then can trigger me to start assessing myself or my sister to know this is not normal?
Yeah.
Yes.
Most of the symptoms are psychological, so some may not be seen.
Okay.
Until it manifested through escaping to alcohol, no one wouldn't have known. But he's mentioned one thing, that feeling of emptiness. And there is that resentment. Where is my mother? And there is that unforgiveness. Why wasn't I told her who is my mother, or where she is, or what happened to me? And she feels she's been a lie. And again, sometimes you pick, you assume not your own responsibilities, but other, maybe I'm the problem. So you start having these issues of shame, guilt. There's a lot that one experiences before that one it start manifesting.
Yes.
And if you are a very jovial child, the moment you are told you are not, you don't belong here, there is that kind of isolation, and you withdraw. And that withdrawing, you can imagine, you are most likely nursing a lot of depressive moods. Some end up in suicidal ideation. So it's quite an issue, a series of turmoil go through your mind. And now I can only numb this feeling through alcohol, or I become busy. Some are workaholic, or I become outgoing. You know, being in, you know, what is that word that I'm, you know, assuming other behaviors, reckless behaviors, and someone was okay, but they've realized something, and they want to numb these feelings, and only to numb these feelings, I act this. So they act out and start behaving in a reckless behaviors. So there are quite a number of issues: self-hate, self-rejection, you don't feel you're worthy, those kind of symptoms.
And I'm picking this could be unique to everyone's situation.
Yes,
they're really unique.
They're unique.
But something I want to ask us this morning, even as we continue to hear your story, you know, Ben Rogers, who has overcome and now is working with other people, is the aspect of, did we know, therefore, that the fear of, you know, relieving emotional wounds can get us or you stuck, hindering progress to life, and the deeper, you know, they become. You know, the deeper they become, the deeper they hinder your progress. You want to say something about that? Because someone is like, I'm stuck in life, life is not happening for me, my other age mates are over there.
Yes.
What is the perspective you would have on this hindrance to personal development?
One of the reasons that will cause this fear is what will the world think about me? How do I accept, I mean, how do I acknowledge to the world that I have failed, that I've become an addict? Secondly, there are those things that are related. As we said, that some of these emotional hoods, they come from relationships, from our families, from our workplace, from our peers and stuff like that. And I have someone who has maybe sexually abused me, we are related, or is a respected member of the society. How do I go out speaking about it? Because one of the healing ways of emotional hoods is you have to unveil them. you have to face them. You know, you have to open up this thing. So now, how do I tell the world? And our society has not really understood these issues of mental health issues. And it's like a shame. It's like you mad, your Madare product and stuff like that. And so you realize there's all this fear, and then there's the shame. There's a shame. You see, you meet all these other friends, you know, maybe you're schooling with Kate and she's driving out there, she's doing good, and here you are stuck. But when you try to speak these things out, still no one understands them. Because these are emotional things, no one sees them. You're fat. Wewe mtu akona kitambi, unatuambia ukona shida gani?
There's the catcalling.
Mwanaume. You know, you, a man, how can you say that such things? So there's that fear to express yourself, and it becomes an hindrance. It becomes an hindrance because until maybe you visited Kate, until you open up exactly what it is, then the healing becomes difficult. There's a scripture in the Bible that talks about the sons of the prophets going to cut trees, and then the axe fell into the river. And the scripture says this man showed the prophet the exact place. So until we address the exact place, then we'll have all these shows as she's saying. Because I remember in high school pretending to be someone I was not. You know, pretending that I come from Nairobi, you know. Yeah, I come from these big families, you know, and all those, putting up a show, as she's saying. And when you look at this person, you think they got it all figured out. But it is emptiness that is eating them. Workaholic, as she's saying. You overwork, you overdo it because you got the fear that people will realize what is happening under below. And so it becomes an hindrance. Because how do you get help? How do you get help when you cover this, when you're living in denial? And I lived in denial for a long, long time. Before we go to Kate, allow me to find out how he came out of it. I want to understand at what point was it a turnaround for you and you said, you know what, let the world know. And I'm coming out, and then that was your turnaround. What was this situation like for you? This happened when one day I woke up and I realized I have lost everything. I'm sleeping in the streets, I'm spending my nights in toilets, I'm spending my nights in the junkyard, and then somehow some friends reached out to me, and I accepted help. Because one of the things, one of the factors that help in your healing, you need to accept you need help. So I accepted I needed help. And when they reached out to me, I was ready. So I ended up in a rehab. Once, the first time, it didn't work out because I hadn't really accepted that I have a problem. I hadn't really accepted that I need help. So I came out and then I relapsed. And still, when I relapsed now, the world was out there stigmatizing me and stuff like that. You're useless, you're hopeless, you can never be helped. And still I internalized those. But I had to go back to the rehab because first I've known that I need help. And then I accepted relapse as a process of healing. As a process of healing. Because if someone goes to class 1 or grade 1 and fails the exam, at least they have overcome the fear of trying. So even if they go back to the same grade, they have overcome the fear of trying. So I went back to the rehab. And that is when I understood what I'm going through. It is not so much the beer was not the problem. It's because I hadn't unpressed these underlying issues. So one time I'm sitting with this therapist and I'm laying everything in the open. And personally, I sat with a pen and a paper and I wrote those things that I felt affected me. So I opened up myself. As much as I received a lot of help, I learned also to accept that. And I came to accept the fact that I have to take baby steps. I don't have to live my whole soberness life in a day. I live today. Even now, I live today. By evening, if I go back to sleep without drinking, then that's a plus to me. Amazing. That's how I've taken it. Because I don't want to bite a big chunk and then I'm unable to chew. And I like that because I wanted to talk to Kate, who is our psychologist on set, about inner healing is not an event. Because some people want to wake up and I'm okay. You know, that's how people say, you know, like in breakups, I'm just going to say it as it is. Especially, you know, in the songs that we hear in the city. It is, you break up with this person, Oga Rudi Soko, next. You know, and now we see homicides and everything. But we're seeing Ben Rogers saying he had to relapse. It's a process. And I want to hear from you really. What does it take, you know, to
to actually achieve inner healing in terms of taking the baby steps, as he said,
Yeah.
you know, the progress that comes with it?
First of all, it's very important you recognize you have a problem.
Yeah.
The problem we have, it's the societal expectations that you are hurt today, you have had a breakup, somebody probably said something, just move on, let it go. It's not that easy to let go.
Okay.
So visit that area that you feel. And as you said when we were starting the show, the soul searching. Soul search and realize, have I changed in some of this behavior? Are you getting feedback from your peers or from your friends or colleagues that, you know, there's some comments that you'll hear, today you're not okay. Or you, even yourself, you feel something very little irritates you, or you have anger issues, or you know, something little just you can't tolerate. No, that is triggering an event that you did not address. So first is always go to visit that area. Sometimes you may not remember, but as you soul search and have your time, it is always you realized so and so hurt me so deeply. And this is the damage. It has changed my personality. I was a jovial girl. Now I do not want to interact. I don't want to socialize with people because of this relationship which broke. I was doing this, but I'm not able. I'm procrastinating issues. What will it be? What is it that is happening to my life? And then you start pointing bit by bit. So one area that you really have to go is visiting, and you work with someone who is a therapist.
Okay.
It is very important.
Yes.
Do not assume. And I can tell you, any event that occurred in the past and is not been resolved, it will always be triggered with another similar event in the present. And you will look like, and you will look at, what was that? Was that Anki? But that was something small. But it is an issue that you have not addressed. So be also open-minded and also open your ears to hear feedback. It's good to get feedback. And from friends who are genuine. Not all of them. There are those friends who are genuine, who give, or critics. You know, there are those critics which are negative. But there are others which help you to change. Positively. So don't ignore those comments. But of course, it is a point where it can help you search soul and see where I can correct. And then the other thing, as you move on, it is the most difficult thing to do. Yes. As you work, and that we allow people, even as we go with them through therapy, forgiving. I know every human being is a spiritual. And we have different religions. We have Muslims, we have Christian. I'm a Christian. Christianity advocate for forgiveness. I will talk on behalf of the Christians. And that is a spiritual resource that can help you, because you realize you need grace to do some of these things. Absolutely. You cannot just let go like that. You need a powerful human, a more supreme being than you, beyond you, that can help you walk through. Because just like that, I can't just forgive you like that. I'll have to, go to carry this burden and pain and help me to let go and forgive you. And remember, you're not doing favor to the person that you're the offender. You're doing to yourself. Because the more you carry it, the more it's destroying you. The more you carry that pain. So however much you want to carry that, by the time you would want to forgive, it is costly and it is doing more damage. So it's up to you to decide, do I carry this or I let go? It is your own justice.
I remember somebody saying anger and bitterness is like cancer. It's you up internally until you lose the conscience, or is it you lose the humane part of you. Allow me to go to the feedback, and we come back to you guys. And I can see here, of course, we talked about Kenneth Mushiri, and of course, Martin Gichuki saying, I feel the man in the studio. I lived in a torment for 22 years, living a lie. All right, Martin, thank you very much for coming out. He's saying he lived himself in a torment for 22 years, living a lie, and that's what you said, wearing a face and acting like you come from Nairobi,
Yes.
etc. And I'm seeing here Juliet Mwaniki saying, I'm grateful to Kate for helping me move on through therapy.
Wow, thank you.
That is Juliet Mwaniki. Banis Marigi saying, say hi to my friends. Happy to see Ben and Kate. It's a high time we speak about emotional wounds and how we can get inner healing and how important it is. Saying kudos.
Thank you.
That is Banis Marigi. And of
you,
course,
Banis.
Pastor Steve Amala saying, proud of you, my campus mate Kate. Keep
Yes,
shining.
thank you.
Martin Gechuki, thank you very much for the feedback, saying, this is real and so helpful. I feel, Ben, I walked the journey of loneliness in a smart way. Okay, in a smart way, living a lie. Now transformed, he's saying is now transformed.
Wow.
Hopefully, Isaac Maweu is watching. Please wake up, Isaac Maweu. Yeah, because he's saying hopefully Isaac Maweu is watching, and we don't have to leave anyone out. So please wake up, Isaac. Isaac should be watching. And I want to come back to what Martin has just said here, talking about living through loneliness in a smart way. You mentioned escapism.
Yes.
And I want to hear from, Ben here, what it then would be like if you live the rest of your life escaping, and how do you know you are at the peak of escaping? Because some people just think, well, I got my answer, like Kate has said, but you are in an escape route, so that we can bring them back to the direction of actually dealing with the situation.
In the beginning, I didn't understand that is what I was doing until I met the specialist. But I remember in high school, I was this clown. I was the guy, dirty jokes, drinking, everything, all those shows, because there was that thing that was deep inside me.
The emptiness?
The emptiness, the loneliness. I was covering that. This is the visiting day. And the guys, my friends are talking about my dad. My dad brought this, my mom brought this. They're talking about their families.
Oh, okay.
But who do I talk about? Number one, these are their grandparents. So I feel I don't have even the right to approach them, the right to tell them you need to come visit me. So there's that, as my friend there is saying, there's that loneliness and emptiness. And you're living this life. And there is so much bitterness.
Yes.
Kate mentioned about bitterness and forgiveness. It's like later on is when I came to understand bitterness can kill you.
Okay.
Because as much as maybe my family trying to do something good, I could not see it. Because I saw myself as a burden. She mentioned that. You reach a point that you're feeling that I'm a burden to this family. So you're feeling this unforgiveness, and it's eating you slowly by slowly. Someone said it's like bitterness is like taking a bottle of poison and expect your partner to die.
Oh, really?
Yes. So I had all those things. But then I came to a point whereby I asked myself a number of questions, and I asked myself, which role did I play in all this? That is where I think my journey of forgiveness began.
Okay.
If Kate now says something bad about me, do I have to respond in a harsh way? And as she said, some of the signs of inner hoods is this, aggressiveness, you are irritable. So I was looking at, okay, my parents died. What is it that I can change about that? Can I accept this? The serenity, the prayer, the serenity to accept things I cannot change.
Yes.
So it is a process, as she said. You don't wake up and you have forgiven everyone.
Okay.
And sometimes someone will say something and then those feelings, they crop up. But then you have to keep on trying. You have to keep on working on these things and asking yourself, what role did I play in all this? Did I have to choose to go to addiction at that particular time because I didn't belong? Do I have to go insulting, to go fighting, to go drinking because I'm divorced or I'm struggling with in marital things?
Yes.
So all these things, I'm talking about me personally now, I reach a point where I put myself in that position, like my reaction matters a lot. Whatever happens to me will happen, if I like it or I don't like it. I can't wake up like today and control everything that happens around me. There are people who speak bad about me. There are people maybe out there, they don't regard me and stuff like that. I accepted those things. So whenever I'm stepping out there, what I am careful about and I'm praying God so much about is what's my reaction to these things. Because I know the addiction journey. I started like covering escapism, but for over 17 years, I struggled to get out of it. Now, prayers and stuff like that, I went to witch doctors, whichever help came my way, but it never worked until I looked inside, until I opened up to an expert and I let go all those things. Yeah.
This is very deep, and I want everyone else who's watching to know we are live on Facebook. You can talk to me there and even on WhatsApp. And Kate, I want to come back to you. He said something very, very important. He said he had to make the decision on how to respond or to react to these situations. And I want to now be specific in situations because we never really know who's watching, but most of them have been very, obvious. We have single parenthood as we're speaking, and I want to talk to that single mom or a single dad who for some reason is suppressing some sort of, like you say, society saying, what then? Why are you thinking? Is it your fault? And all that is going on in their minds. And I want you to speak to specific situations now, including you, of course, when you're coming into drugs. And let's talk about the single mom watching this morning. They probably haven't told anyone that the father of the child is missing or abusive. And I just want you to have an angle from a psychologist's perspective to talk to people in single parenthood this morning. Yes.
First of all, I think just to add about unforgiveness.
Yes.
There is also the self-forgiveness.
Self-forgiveness. Okay.
Because sometimes you may carry a lot of self-rejection. You're so hard on yourself, and you keep just picking every fault. It's me. So it's good, first of all, as you forgive the other party, you also have self-forgiveness.
Okay.
And start now adopting self-love, self-care. Start cultivating good thoughts, positive ones. Nurture yourself with what makes you happy. Identify the hobbies that you love doing. So when these destructive thoughts come, you know how to divert them in a positive way. Identify your potentials. Get the right people who can build you, not destroy you, not just... Now, there is a father here who offended you. And as I said, that's an area, first of all, to visit and see the impact it had. I know sometimes it is so painful, it's with a lot of bitterness, and you're like, I do not want to see him. I don't want to hear about them. And by the way, you'll be surprised, this child, when they reach teenage area, stage, they'll want to know where and who is my father. And like that reminds you, they start now uncovering those wounds that you never addressed. So others have lied. Others have just told her, I don't want to go and talk to that. I don't want to to talk to that topic any other time. And that child will go. And it's not their fault. It's not their fault. So the justice you can do for yourself, find healing. Identify that area and start working to them. Just finding a way you can let go this pain, because this is the father of your child. Sometimes it may come in a very painful way, like rape, but until this child is able to understand, you can sit them down. They would rather know the truth. It is bitter, but they would rather know the truth from their mom other than getting it from someone else. They will not forgive you.
I know, I want to hear what he has to add on that, because this is for the next...
They will not forgive you.
These are young children. He had to grow to a certain age and hear it from someone says, he had to overhear, right?
Yes. So do not transfer issues that you have not addressed to your children, because there's a likelihood of you transferring the pain to your children, and that will affect them more. And maybe as we finish the show, I'll be able now to let you know where we go, getting back to the grassroots, to childhood. Where do we start to avoid this impact affecting us in the present? So as a single mother, I know it's not very easy. And it is the most difficult thing to go back to that area. But that's the only justice you can do yourself, to find healing. So that even as you talk to your daughter or your son about the dad, you don't feel anything. Okay. Even as he comes, you know, sometimes they do parents. There are those who do co-parenting. You have no choice. They'll have to meet this guy at one point, because his blood runs through your sons or your daughter. You have no choice. So find a place in your heart. Seek to get help.
And so, I like when you say seek, and you shall find.
Yeah.
And of course the feedback coming in as I come, because you have just touched on the reason why I talked about parenting is because these children, like you said, you transfer to the child who, if they knew the truth early, could also start the healing journey early, you know. And of course I'm seeing here Joyce Kimari saying, sadly, Joyce, hi, how are you? Sadly, so many people in the rural areas suffer from emotional wounds, and they do not know. And she's very specific, people in the rural areas. And she said the other thing which I find real is that the way some parents speak to their children, like you said, contribute to this inner wounds. For example, look at how well your sister is doing at school.
Yes.
You will be a failure. And she's saying we need to be careful. What are your comments?
One thing I have to mention about that is I remember one of my aunties would, when we have these Christmas gatherings, and then she would indirectly talk to me and like, have you seen the car your cousin is driving? Have you seen the way he's doing well? You know, she's not like telling me you're doing badly, but she's trying to tell me about how good they are. So I felt condemned. And when it comes, going back to the issue of parenting, I had come from goat herding, and I overheard my grandmother talking to the neighbor.
Okay.
And even before that, one of the neighbors had mentioned to me that you don't belong there.
One of the neighbors?
Neighbors.
Okay.
So deep inside, I was like, this guy is crazy. Why should he say, that is not my home? And I was like, that is my home. You don't know. You know, as a little boy, I'm trying to fight because I know I belong here. And then I overhear this. One of the things that I can say about this is sometimes it becomes very difficult even to share what or how did this kid come about.
Yes.
Because anytime I tried to ask, I was told, we don't want to hear that. Now, that led to more questions. Why don't they want to hear this? You know, and you know, adolescence is that stage of identity and confusion. You either get so confused or you find your identity. It's a very critical stage of life. So I'm trying to find out the whys. So to me, what I can say is that sometimes as a parent, it might be difficult to see the kid and tell them how you are raped, because that might become another trauma. So I think the best way, as Kate mentioned, is seek an advice from an expert. Allow the expert to help the kid understand maybe who is the father and understand these things. There are some things that will happen in life that might not be pleasing, but then we have to overcome them. Because eventually, as much as you hide the identity, one way or another, that kid will find out. And he or she might find out even from your best friend. That person that you call your best friend, that you tell all these stories. One day they will meet, and she or he will tell the boy. So as you mentioned, Doris, is sometimes when they know early, even their healing can start early, instead of growing up with a big lie, and it comes to unfold later in life.
And one of the things that I know we'll continue to talk about, even as you talked about, you know, hindering. We've already started, you know, the child and nurturing this, you know, and what you've said is the communication. When you want to talk and people shut it out. You know, the essence of talking and being receptive of the communication is also something that I want to talk about. But before we take a short break, there's an aspect of how running away, because I'm going to use the word running away from your inner healing or emotional wounds affects your character. You know, besides they change, but it's molding you into somebody else. Yes.
Yeah. You're just trying to numb the feelings. You're trying to numb the feelings, and you assume a different character because you're afraid to visit that area of brokenness. And as I said, soul searching is very important. You'll run, but the more you run, the more that wound is growing.
Yeah.
And it's more deeper, and it gets more, there is more pain.
You know, I'm looking at a normal wound.
Yeah,
You know, as
when it's not attended,
have you seen a wound?
yes, it becomes septic.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it's the same way happens when it's inside. You run away, but that wound is growing. And remember, the recovery will be the same. So even the recovery will take the same time. Because you've let go, you've been running away from it. So the more you run away, the more the wound is growing and getting deeper, more painful. So even your recovery stage, can be slow. So it is important you decide. It is until you decided, because even the therapist will work with you, you'll have a support group,
Yes.
will work with you, you'll have pastors working and praying with you, but until you decide, it is the time. And that's the only justice you can do yourself. That's when you start the heal. And remember, you've been stuck all through
Yes.
in life. It is until now you accept this is it. And this is the damage that has been, which has caused. And this is the time to decide now, I need help. I need to get out of this.
Boils down to you need to make that particular decision.
Yes. One thing, and that is a problem I still emphasize, that we human beings have. We want to get approval from other people.
Validation.
We are hiding our pain, but we want to keep such expectations from the society. You know, you are not supposed to be doing, you are not supposed to say these things. It's like a taboo. You're not supposed to. Why do you want to know your mother or your father where they are? You know, but you're seeking identity. That is somebody. That is your mother. You'd want to know. And remember, the more you stop them, the more the whys happen. So what are you doing to this person?
Okay.
Psychologically, you're still affecting them, so you're not doing any good. So I want to speak to any person that either you're a guardian to a parent or you're a parent, a single mom. The more you ask those questions, and it's until you're ready to answer this person, you're creating more problems, so psychological issues too, also to your children.
And this conversation is not over yet. We're taking a short break.
It's a long one.
It's just a short break we're taking, but we're coming back with the panelists still here in studio. But before I take the break, let me appreciate Fabian, who's saying good morning. I like the discussion. Thank you, Fabian. Also feel free to, give us your sentiments. We'd also learn from you as well. And I'm also seeing here Phyllis Wanjiru saying, emotional pain is not something that should be hidden away and never spoken about. There is truth in your pain, there is growth in your pain, but only if it's first brought out into the open. Ask for help. Saying happy to see you, Ben Rogers and Kate. I wish I would read this again, but of course just that part where she says there is truth in your pain, there is growth in your pain, but only if it's brought out in the open. I'm going to come back also to ask about relationships. I've seen a lot of homicides. The last woman who I personally celebrate, the Ekuame Nigerian singer, who had to go quiet about, her abusive and toxic marriage, but then, lost the battle. She died. And I don't know how many women and men are still hiding and quiet and not healing out of what then would the society say. We come in shortly after this break. This is the Big Conversation. Don't go too far away.
Make those payments and take dinner out the freezer. Enjoy your day off.
Hey.
How was your day?
Great.
Did you pay the bills?
Abby did it.
And the plumber?
Abby did it.
Send money to your mom?
Abby did it.